Welcome to the Orchard Hard Drive. Dear Diary, my name is Art, and I'm finally taking the time to write about what has happened to me the past month. I've been living in the land of Nullgorth. It's a kind of fantasy world, frankly, best as I can describe it. Right, okay, let me start at the beginning. I was visiting a friend of mine who is a scientist. He was showing me around the laboratory he'd been working in. There had been a lot of really interesting things going on there, lots of incredible groundbreaking work going on. One that I was really very interested in was the research going on with a device that was meant to open small wormholes. But they were still in the early testing of it, as the wormholes were very volatile. Some might just keep you in the wormhole flying around for a while. Another could easily just drop you off somewhere else in the universe. While he was showing me around, he was called away. I said I'd wait for him, just looking around at the photographs hung on the wall. Then I heard some shouting and cursing. It was coming from a room nearby. I guess I got a bit nosy and I looked through the door. Another scientist came running past me, almost pushing me over. Then I heard the scientist that was still in the room, yelling to themselves. I looked back into the room and saw he was falling backwards onto some equipment. A wormhole opened up, and as the scientist was flailing about, hitting buttons, they were gone. I yelled for help, but then there were sparks shooting from the machine, and another wormhole opened, much larger, and I was suddenly pulled in. Before I knew what had happened, I found myself in a field. I was surrounded by strange cow-looking creatures. They were purple and had antennae on top of their heads. I heard a voice call to me. I looked over, and there, at the gate of the field, was someone who looked like a wizard. Just the full get-up, wizard hat, wizard robes, the whole thing. I walked over, and they opened the gate for me. They started talking, but I couldn't understand a single thing they were saying. The wizard realised this and put their hands out. They started to glow a moment, and then I understood. They told me their name was Arrowgrass. They were a local wizard and asked if I was okay. I told them my story, and thankfully, in this world, a story like mine doesn't seem completely ridiculous. He invited me to stay for a bit. And to say I was hit with a culture shock is an understatement. We arrived in a small village. In this village you'd find goblins, humans, and some gnomes. I didn't get off to a great start with the gnomes after I stepped on a highly respected one as I was walking through town. Arrowgrass lived in a small house on the edge of the village. He told me his job was basically any odd jobs people locally needed. The village was south, outside of the city of Deadnettle, a seaside town. It's a gorgeous place, except you can't swim in the sea because of the giant sea creatures. We chatted for a few hours that day, and Arrowgrass said how he didn't think he knew of a way to get me back to Earth. But he said he knew of a wizard, Twayblade. He was retired, but would be very interested in meeting me. He was the most powerful wizard in Nullgorth, and if anyone would know anything, he would. I remember looking out the window and seeing all the different creatures, how exciting this world seemed to me. And I remember feeling guilty, as I still do. While yes, of course I wanted to go home, I really wanted to explore this magical world more. As I said, this was a month ago. I stayed with Arrowgrass for a few weeks, and I had started to make friends locally, like a goblin named Clonk. Clonk had travelled a fair bit around Nullgorth, and would tell me all kinds of stories. Eventually, we decided we'd go and meet this Twayblade. Clonk had been reading about him all his life, so any opportunity he'd take to meet him. And so, one bright morning, I said my goodbyes to Arrowgrass. I thanked him for his unrelenting kindness to a complete stranger, and I'd never forget it. He taught me how to get out there and explore the land of Nullgorth and come back and tell him how I got on. I will. I promise.